Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sami Haj Assad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, human listeners.
Greetings to everyone. If this is the first time you're listening to our podcast, thank you. Thank you for trying something new. Thank you for listening to a pair of automotive journalists like me and Ben talk about the cars that they've been testing and telling you all about them. We're pretty much one of the few automotive review podcasts available out there, right, Ben?
I wouldn't know. I mean, I only listen to our podcast.
And how is it?
I couldn't tell you. I go into like a trance-like state when I hear your voice. Mm-hmm. And then I'm only snapped out of it when you say goodbye at the end.
Oh, so, no.
It's like automatic writing. You know, like in the past, like a long time ago. I don't know
how you do it, and I don't like that you automatic write because I don't automatically write, and it,
well,
it
the
makes
spirit
me so
comes
self-conscious.
The spirit comes upon you, and then you channel its writing. So like I guess Abraham Lincoln used to do, or Mackenzie King. I think he was an automatic writer. There's a little Canadian politics history for our listeners, I guess. But yeah. We're two carbon-based life forms who drive vehicles and talk about those vehicles. And this is one of those rare shows where we actually drove the same vehicle within roughly the same time period. And rather than subject you to two shows where we talked about that, we decided to combine our experiences into one mega show, aka this show.
There's too much pressure on the mega show definition of our podcast. Can we tone that down a little bit?
Ultra show.
Oh, no.
Is ultra below mega? It is for these purposes.
Okay.
The vehicle in question, and we're skipping our normal intro, it seems.
Yeah, I've noticed. We'll plug our publications at the end.
Sure. We'll totally remember to do that. The vehicle in question, it's brand new for 2025. Mm-hmm. It's from Cadillac, which is a company that has gone all in on electric vehicles in a way that I really don't think they get enough credit for.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
And it is the most affordable version of the Cadillac EV family. It is, of course, the 2025 Cadillac Optiq, spelled with a Q. Don't know why. Cadillac is taking the Q back from Infiniti, it seems, because it's attached to all of their battery-powered vehicles now.
Is this not a strategy, the naming strategy, not related to what's-his-face, who moved from one brand to the other?
Johan Denishan, didn't he used to run Cadillac? Do you think they opened up his
other way around?
They opened up his archives or something, and they're like, oh man, he had all these really great Q ideas. Like his archives consist exclusively of Q-related names.
No, but his whole game plan, the moment he changed automakers to both Cadillac and Infiniti, was like, we're going to get rid of all these names that you know and love and change them to Q, QX for a Cadillac, for Infiniti. And then on the Cadillac side, it was XT and CT for the...
to be fair, though, Cadillac had already started the CT thing. Like,
yes.
A long time
before. Is an old name.
CTS and DTS and ETC and all this stuff. STS.
SRX.
But the original Cadillac abbreviations, like STS was, I believe, Seville Touring Sedan. So they were trying to keep the original name inside the acronym. And then DTS was DeVille Touring Sedan. And ETC was Eldorado Touring Coupe. CTS, I think that might have been like a break with tradition. I don't think CTS had it certainly wasn't Catera Touring Sedan. No. They weren't trying to commemorate it.
No.
Yeah.
And same with ATS. Really nothing to that either. But maybe it's A segment? C segment?
Those European segments, those are I don't have those memorized. It's very possible.
I don't know them either.
And then the weirder thing, though, that Cadillac is doing now, and they're still doing this even with this embrace of the Q, is they're adding a number on the back of the vehicle.
Oh my God, I hate this number. Yeah, I don't think that's a real thing. I don't think they use that in nomenclature.
Well, it represents the torque in Newton meters produced by the vehicle, which is something that no one has ever thought about in the history of automotive. Like, no one has ever looked at a car and went, this car has 1,200 Newton meters of torque. No one says that. Newton meter sounds like a fig Newton that has been educated above its station. I'm just going to say that.
Well, no. It sounds like a very large fig Newton.
Is it Newton meter? Or is it a device that measures fig Newtons? Did you bring the Newton meter?
Oh my God! The Newton meter rating is off the chart on this juicy cookie here.
In any case, the number is meaningless, I think, to the vast majority of buyers.
But it is there at the back end of your car next to your tail light.
Was it like 500 on the Optiq, something like that?
Probably. It very could possibly be that.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I have purposely not tried to understand what those numbers mean for individual Cadillacs, because in my mind, this is one of those things that a marketing person decided, and it's going to be there for a small period of time, and then it's going to disappear. And my knowledge of it is going to displace some childhood memory that I would have really rather kept in my mind. So I'm like, no, you're not going to fool me on Newton meters, Cadillac. But they've kept it a lot longer than I thought they would.
Yeah, 100%. They've kept it along a lot longer. The Cadillac Optiq, we drove 2 different trim levels, which is really important to point out. They are different in more than number. I had a Cadillac Optiq Sport 2. You had a Cadillac Optiq Sport 1.
1 Newton meter.
1 ultra meter. And mine was a mega meter.
Hey now.
But they differed in experience in terms of the equipment because this is a fairly affordable vehicle. I mean, in the US, it starts at around $55,000.
Yeah, and in just under that, actually.
And I think in Canada, it's closer to 60 or 70. I can't remember now.
What's interesting about the pricing, too, is it starts at mid-50s, but it doesn't really go outside of the 50s. Like, it sticks till, I think, 58,000 is the most you can pay, something like that in the United States. And when you consider when you look at luxury vehicles, from the German automakers, there's often a very wide spread. We talked about it with the 911 last week. But even on non-icons, there are options and packages and bespoke trim levels.
The Q4 a non-iconic vehicle that has a Q in it?
They can really jack up the price.
Yeah.
In this case, it's not like that. And kudos to Cadillac for reining things in. I think it's probably because they don't want to infringe too much on the Lyriq, which also with a Q, which is the next vehicle in the Cadillac EV SUV universe. Then there is the Vistiq, which I'm driving in a couple of weeks.
And then there's the Escalade IQ.
Escalade IQ,
and then there's the range topping like $200,000 or $300,000.
350, I think.
Hand built Celestiq.
Yeah, they hand build those batteries.
Ouch.
They lose 3 workers a year.
The interesting thing that is, speaking of price, this is it's a luxury vehicle, but it's based on one of the more mainstream EVs on the market. It uses pretty much the same platform and battery as the Chevy Equinox.
Well, it's the same platform and battery in the sense that every Cadillac uses the Ultium platform, right? Just in different sizes.
Yes, but I mean, even this one has, from what I can tell, like the same wheelbase and almost the same length and height as the.
But I think if you were to look at the cars side by side, I think only the roof is shared.
Yeah.
They've done an excellent job of completely differentiating. Like, this is not a case of
very difficult for automakers to do that. There used to be. I mean, I think Lincoln really they phone it in sometimes on their vehicles that are related to Fords, right?
But it's much easier to do with an EV where you're not constrained by hard points in the same way as you are, I think, with an ICE platform, because of engine placement, transmission placement, and whatnot is already decided, right? So you can, if you have a skateboard, you can kind of put whatever you want on top of the skateboard, as long as you're okay with the cost associated with that.
And you're comfortable doing, you got to do a kick flip on demand.
Yeah. And when I look at the Optiq, I do not see any Chevrolet in it.
That's one of the most successful things I think they've managed with the design. There is one element that caught me off guard. There's this really weird window at the rear quarter of the vehicle.
You love windows.
It doesn't look like a window. It looks like a black body panel, but it actually is a window, and it's got some standardized design on it, that make it look like, I don't know, wind streaks in a photo.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking at it right now, and my blood is boiling.
It's very weird, but that is the only thing that I found worth calling out in the exterior of the Optiq. However, there are a ton of little signature lighting details and doodads that the car has. I don't know if you approached it at night but like the lights go.
No, I was too afraid of it.
The lights go really like they do all these weird animations on the grill and on the headlights and on the tail lights.
I'll tell you what was annoying about it at night.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going. Yeah, here we go.
The charge port flashes green sometimes while it's charging, but not always. It woke me up one night because the electric vehicles, when I have them, they charge directly outside my bedroom. Mm-hmm. And I had the shades up, and at like 3 a.m, there was this bright pulsating light, and I'm like, what's going on? I had this issue with the Escalade too. The Escalade actually flashes a full headlight at you to let you know it's charging, but you can turn that off. In the Optiq, I could not find any options about the charge light.
I think the Optiq also has a tail light or headlight indicator in which like an LED animation kind of starts like stacking, kind of like a Tetris block, like a Tetris game, to show that it's getting charged or something like that. It was very strange. I saw it every once in a while when I was walking into my garage or out of my garage and not getting into the Optiq, but I would see it doing this really weird like animation. I do want to say that the charge port on the Optiq is much better than the one on the Lyriq. The Lyriq has a very large charge port, and it opens kind of in a janky way. Mm-hmm. It has a robotic arm that pushes it open, but it lifts it up kind of. Whereas the one on the Optiq is smaller and it's on a hinge, and it just feels more stable. And the reason I bring this up, it's not personal preference. Although an electric vehicle, you do want things to look more solid. For me, mm-hmm. It's a question of in the winter when there's snow and ice on the car, I wasn't confident that the Lyriq's robot arm would be able to punch through that. Whereas on the Optiq, it was much easier to open and close, and I had no qualms about it getting caught up by ice. Yeah, I think that's fair, and I agree with you. All of these really neat, like powered charge ports, like in theory, really elegant, really cool. But once they're covered in snow, which is a reality for some people, or ice, it's just going to be a hindrance, right? Like it's just
you don't have a powered gas cap, I guess is where we're going with this.
Should
Tesla,
we know?
No, definitely not. No. I once saw a guy at a gas station who had an LCD screen on the inside of his gas cap so he could watch something while he pumped gas.
That's what we should normalize.
The vehicle I drove was painted bright orange. It's called Monarch Orange. Did you have an interesting paint job?
No, gray as can be.
No, this looked good. I also want to shout out the fact that even though it has a really long wheelbase, and that's an important fact that we're going to get into a little bit later when we talk about the interior, the overhangs on this car are non-existent.
Yeah.
It has a super short hood, and they've tilted the glass at the back of the cargo area to further shorten the rear end. So you kind of lose a little bit of cargo space. There's still like 57 cubic feet, I think, and in total. And 26 with the rear seat in place, which is pretty decent. Up front, you lose the frunk. That's, I think, a victim of this design choice. So when you pop the hood, you see electric motor and nothing else.
Yeah, I was curious about what your thoughts were about that. Why is that a concern to you? Well, is there I'm losing it. Is there a frunk on the Equinox? I don't think so. Is there one on the Lyriq?
On the Lyriq, I don't remember. It's been a while.
Okay.
It's not really a concern that it's not there. Some competitors will have it, and some people will cross shop and see that. For me, I just appreciate that it's small and easy to park.
Okay.
And I think that's important. I've been talking about these giant EVs I've been driving and how much of a hassle they are. And
we finally got one that's appropriately sized.
Definitely.
I think what it is it really is surprisingly there are a few EVs in this price range and driving range, which we haven't even touched on yet. That the Equinox the Optiq kind of just like ignores in terms of size and specifications. This is bigger than almost all of its rivals. It offers almost more interior cargo room than everyone but the GLB, which is a boxy vehicle. The moment you fold down all the rear seats, that's when it takes over in terms of the Equinox.
What do you mean by bigger?
Not Equinox. It has more cargo room.
Okay, I thought you meant like size-wise.
Interior size. I believe it's a little bit longer, or it has a larger wheelbase. But that larger wheelbase is basically the secret to stacking as many batteries as you can put in a vehicle, and that's one of the major ways to get really decent range, right?
Sorry, I spaced. I was looking at specs when you said that last thing.
Were you shopping for car? Be honest, you were shopping for more.
No, I was looking at the overall length of the EQB and the Q4.
Yeah, and
well, no, repeat your last point is what I'm asking you to do.
I believe the Optiq is longer.
Yes,
larger.
Yes. Yes. But more important, it has a much bigger wheelbase.
Much bigger wheelbase,
like and 8 to 9 inches in some cases,
which is huge.
It translates into a lot of interior room.
A lot of interior room and a lot of battery. That's what I was getting at. I'm sorry I caught you while you were doing research, trying to make
it's not your fault.
Important conversation topics here. At 85 kilowatt hours, I think it's probably the largest among it is the largest among its rivals.
It has definitely way more range than anything comparable to it.
302 miles of range.
If you're looking at an EQB, you're looking at 250 miles of range.
Yeah.
And the Q4 e-tron is not far off of that. The EX40 is not far off of that. I mean, even so real world driving, I saw, if you average it out, 280 miles of range in very hot weather. Even though the indicator was showing me 320, but if you look at the rate of energy consumption, it worked out to like 280, 290. So even in real world hot conditions, I'm still beating an EPA perfect rating from every one of its rivals. And it actually did it too. So like, that's impressive. Sammy, what was your experience like in terms of range?
I did not have any complaints with range. I was thinking in terms of, Canadian range, which was over 400 kilometers of range. Well,
yeah, I was showing 513 on a full battery.
I was getting closer to 480 probably, but I was baking, man. It was hot that week.
But converted it to miles, that's like 320 something. Roughly.
Yeah.
So it's not all that far from the actual estimate. So I was doing 31 kilowatt hours per 100 miles.
That was my experience as well. I will say, for all of the EVs that we have driven and have talked about how much performance they offer, the Optiq, even though it has really good range, and I didn't have any issues fast charging it. I think it fast charged pretty well. I couldn't get it up to like the super high speeds that it's supposed to have, mainly because I don't have any chargers nearby that get that high.
It doesn't charge super high. It's limited to 150 kilowatts.
Oh, is it? I thought it was more than that. Well, I got 100 and something.
It's about 8 miles per minute if you manage to reach that. So you're looking at a vehicle that charge-wise is very average. Like, it's fine. That's useful. It's not a burden. It's not class leading. It's not like eGMP. But this vehicle also is sized in a way that doesn't really compete against eGMP, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one that would be comparable is the GV60, and the GV60 is really small compared to this.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, though, it does like 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds or so. It didn't feel super fast. I'll be blunt about that.
300 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
One thing that's
and it
interesting,
felt like 300 horsepower saddled with like tons of weight.
Well, it's interesting. When I was talking about comparing to range earlier, I was comparing to all-wheel drive versions of the EQB and the Q4 because the Optiq is all-wheel drive standard, and that's not the case for any of its competitors, I don't think. I think you have 100%. You have to pay more to get all-wheel drive. And the way that Cadillac does the all-wheel drive, most of the electric vehicles that we see on the market have the permanently excited or permanently magnetized engine in the back. Mm-hmm. And there's the second motor's in the front, and it kicks in when it's needed. The Cadillac does it the opposite way. So this is primarily a front-wheel drive vehicle until you're accelerating hard or you need traction. You do notice it a little bit in terms of torque steer. In some cases, it is a definite different driving dynamic from like an eGMP platform, like in the GV60, for example. It's not necessarily bad because, like you pointed out, this is not an enthusiast vehicle, but it is different. You will. It is
different. Yeah.
I didn't think it was slow. I didn't find it was burdened. I thought it was perfectly fine, and I was kind of happy that Cadillac balanced range and performance in a way that we've often complained these companies don't do.
That's fair. I was in my review, I pointed out that there has been a 500 horsepower version of the car, an Optiq V, that has been announced, and anybody who wants to go fast in this car will have the opportunity to pay to do so.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we were talking about the Acura ZDX and how there's is it the Type S that's the fast one?
Yeah.
And it had something like 500 horsepower. And it's essentially the same platform, right? It's the Ultium platform.
Yes.
So the disadvantage of that was you lost a lot of range in that version.
That's right.
I just don't feel like that trade-off is worthwhile for 90% of owners.
Absolutely. I agree with you for sure. Because honestly, I didn't have any issues driving the car. Like you're right. It gets up to speed. It can make a pass. But for cruising around on the highway or the freeway, really, it has more than enough power to do so. And it also highlights probably the most important part of this car that stands out against all the other vehicles in its class is Super Cruise, which is really sweet, right? Like
it's really sweet.
Driving works really decently.
I had a couple of issues with it in the Optiq I haven't had with other Cadillacs.
Tell me.
I was using it in really heavy rain. I was headed to the airport and I was coming up on slower traffic and the car did not decelerate. I had to intervene. And I've only ever had that happen. Actually, I can't remember that ever happening with Super Cruise. The only other issues I've had with Super Cruise in the past have been on sharp corners underneath highway overpasses where it mistakes a bridge pillar for oncoming traffic and it slams the brakes on.
Wow, I've never had that.
That happened to me in the Escalade V. And in this vehicle though, I had this issue where I had to. It's a good thing I was paying attention. I had to slam the brakes on, but I also had problems with the automatic lane change system.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was somewhat capricious. Like it didn't always go back into the right lane after it had initiated an automatic pass. And sometimes it would pull up behind slower traffic and just sit there. And I could not figure out what was provoking it to not work. Like normally it works very well. Normally
I've never had that feature work for me at all. I've had the automatic lane change where you press the button, you press the stalk and it'll change lanes, but I have never had it make a pass. You'd have to signal back and go back.
I did. It happens all the time with Super Cruise for me. I mean, IQ, Escalade, and now this. But in this one, it was much less consistent.
I've never had that feature. That's really cool.
It's possible it was turned off because it's an option inside the menu system for Super Cruise. You have to turn it on.
Okay.
When I was having the problem, I actually tried turning it on and off to see if it would fix it, and my results were inconsistent.
But the driving dynamics of the vehicle really acceptable for its class and price. I really think that, as you mentioned, there's a really good balance in terms of performance and range. And then we talked about just how much cargo room and interior room this vehicle has. But one of the things that is also worth mentioning is the interior design. Really funky interior design. Mine was bright blue. Did you have bright blue? Mine was blue, yes.
And it looked good.
A few different materials, mix of materials, really cool leather seats, but as well some of the upper panels of the console and dash and door panels had this kind of felt like a nylon cloth blend, which is supposed to be some sort of synthetic or sustainable material.
I liked how the center, there was like a big cargo carrying thing, like I guess basket underneath the console, and mine was lined with like a blue felt so that things that were in there didn't rattle and make noise, and I appreciated that. And I also liked the blue metal underneath the infotainment screen, which really runs the risk of looking cheesy, but actually worked, I think, for this vehicle.
I can't recall if I had blue metal under my infotainment system, but I did have some interesting wood trim that was apparently made with an inlay of or made with newspaper.
Is it wood material? Or is it newspaper?
And you could see it kind of like part of the trim. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the picture of your trim. I think I had one like that as well.
I think that's metal from what I recall.
But my wood trim was super strange. It had so like I said, it had newspaper. I was expecting, when I read about this, I was expecting the newspaper to be basically ground up into a pulp and meshed with the wood trim as well. Instead, here it feels like there are sheets of newspaper. You can kind of see words in it if you really feel like looking and squinting. And I was so confused as to what was going on in there.
I didn't have any of that. Mine was like a checkered kind of fabric, which looked nice and wasn't confusing.
I'm looking at yours. Yeah. Let me see if I can find a photo of these words. But it was, what I am trying to say overall is that the interior of this vehicle really Interesting. Really cool, because I think a Cadillac might have the aura of being a little old-fashioned, might be conservative in terms of, especially because it's a luxury vehicle, might have that conservative, just wood and leather trim interior. And this is far from that. There's all sorts of materials. There's different colors. There's different just ideas in here, which I think worked really well. There's a touchscreen, massive touchscreen. There's also a little rotary knob. I actually didn't find myself using that rotary knob.
I never used the knob, and I never used the buttons that are attached to the knob as shortcuts. In fact, I didn't even think to look there until halfway through my driving experience with the vehicle. And even once I had clocked that they were present, I did not use them.
The interesting part is there's no Android Auto.
That's not interesting.
It's probably the one of the bigger dings I have against this vehicle.
It's a definite problem.
Auto, no Apple CarPlay.
It's terrible. It's a terrible oversight by GM. As someone who's shopping for an electric vehicle right now, it eliminates General Motors from my shopping list.
Okay, I'm going to try to send you a photo of this.
I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who feels that way. It's just a hassle to have to log into all these apps. It's a hassle to, if you share the car and you're like with a spouse or a kid, and they have to log in and log out when they're using the car. And did you remember to do that, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked about it in the past. Not going to talk about it too much more here. But yeah, definitely the worst thing about this car is the lack of that feature that almost all of its competitors offer.
Now, speaking of features, what's going on with your car? Because I believe that I had a fully loaded. I had a basically fully loaded Cadillac Optiq. I thought that some features like massage seats were standard based on what I was reading at the Cadillac Canada website. And then it turns out that your car did not have massage seats, did it?
Well, it turns out that the Cadillac Canada website is not accurate.
It's not accurate.
That's what we've discovered.
Stranger still is that the controls to enable and disable the massage function of this vehicle are a little joystick on the door panel where you would find seat adjustment, right?
Yes.
And it looks really strange that it sticks out like that. It's a little knob with like that you can rotate and you can toggle up and down. I was totally caught off guard by this control method of turning on massage seats. This is not usually how it works. Usually there's just a button and then you slide through some controls on the touchscreen and you go from like that. This thing, incorporating it into the door panel, I'm not sure is a really effective. I mean, it's great that it's physical control for it, but I don't think it's very pretty.
There are Cadillacs, I believe, in the past where that same control, or the knob, was on the seat.
Yeah.
And it did the same function. You just couldn't see it.
Okay. Maybe this is better than that.
I don't know if it's better, but it does. I mean, the thing I don't like about massage seats in general, in terms of interface, is they have a tendency to take over the infotainment screen.
Yeah, because they have to give you a preview of what kind of massage you're getting, right?
And it's like, if you're going to have a hard controller, why do you need to have both of these things?
Yeah.
You know, like it eliminates the convenience of the hard controller, and it's frustrating to have the menu for the massage seats up on the screen if I'm looking at navigation or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, and often they don't leave the screen. You have to go back to what you were doing. And the thing that makes it triply frustrating is if your passenger does it, it takes over the screen too. And you have no control over that, right?
Or you shout at somebody. Yeah, exactly.
I don't. You know what, Sammy? The vehicles I drive are no shouting zones. So
no shouting zones? They're just sanctuary.
I can't get behind you on that. But
what was the other element? There's also a controlled touchscreen on the left of the steering wheel. It's a really smart idea to have this tiny smartphone-sized space for touchscreen controls to adjust your gauge cluster. In my vehicle, head-up display. I was really taken aback at how smart that was and how no other automakers, despite having massive panels of screen, do not incorporate a touchscreen closer to the driver on next to the steering wheel.
Well, in the Hyundai Ioniq and the Kia EV6, I guess it's just the Ioniq 5 and 6. It's replaced by a felt pad
Yeah,
that you can pin things to.
Yeah,
Which
not nearly very analog. Maybe they're going for a different feel altogether.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with that. There's also my car had vented seats, it had heated seats, it had a heated steering wheel, it had some really impressive sound system. I think AKG branded sound system, and I found it to be pretty good. It had all of the doodads and features that I think you could ask for in a car like this, in addition to Super Cruise, which is, I think, the highlight feature for Cadillac's products.
And it also has physical controls for heating and cooling, buttons that actually work.
And you can change the heating like area, like you can make it just your back or the bottom or your seat bottom as well. Which is important. All this is really important to say. This is just an entry-level vehicle, right?
Well, entry-level vehicle that still costs $50,000.
Sorry, an entry-level luxury vehicle. It is the brand's entry-level luxury EV. Sorry. So they had an opportunity to really like skimp out on the features, tell somebody to get one of the other Cadillacs instead, like a Lyriq, and they didn't. They really didn't at all. I think this was really a solid package altogether.
They're also the only automaker out there that essentially has a full lineup of electric SUVs from top to bottom.
I think that's possible.
They're a company that is pulling its gas-powered SUVs out of the lineup and specifically replacing them with this. Like XT5 is gone, right?
XT5, XT4, I think, and XT6. I don't know if XT6 is going to get another generation.
I don't think so at all. And
I don't think XT4 is either, but
in their place are these very good replacements. And I can't think, like, BMW is not doing this. Audi is not doing this. Lincoln is certainly not doing it. Does Lincoln even have an EV SUV available? No. So
Mercedes has EQ E and S. So no, and B, I guess. EQB. EQ,
but no EQC?
No EQC. They canceled it.
Okay.
They're probably redesigning it. Yeah. No, seriously. I drove one back in maybe 2018 or 17 and was expecting it in 2020, and they canceled it for America. They said it's just not going to come.
They got to make a coupe design, EQC coupe.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And then I think Audi's not far off. They have EQ4. They have Q4. Jesus. Q4. All these cars have Qs in them.
Nation, his tendrils extend far and wide. They're inescapable.
Q4 and a Q8 e-tron. Do they have a Q6? I don't think so.
Don't know. I don't think so. So kudos.
Oh, wait, they do. What is this thing?
Kudos to Cadillac for getting it done. GM's taken a lot of heat. And
what is this car? How have I not heard about this? Ben, I have to get on my Audi lineup.
What I think is interesting is that Cadillac is also, or GM is also essentially on the verge of profitability with its electric cars.
When did you find this at? Where did you read this?
They've talked about it in numerous press releases over the last year.
So in order to do that, though, they've introduced several EVs across their lineup. In the Chevrolet lineup, you've got the Equinox, Blazer, and Silverado EVs. Is there any more in Chevy?
Not that I can think of.
And then on GMC, they've got Sierra and Hummer, both sedan and pick and truck, whatever you want to call it.
And there are no Buicks.
There are no Buicks. There are Buicks you can buy, but there are no Buick EVs. Buick is not dead yet. Stop putting people on Buick death watch.
Then Cadillac is full EV at this point.
Yeah, full EV.
No sedans other than Celestiq, but it's almost like if you invest in something and see it all the way through and produce good products, you can do what companies like Ford have said are impossible, which is make money with EVs.
What was the first Ultium vehicle? It was the Hummer, right?
I think so.
And that was when? Let me double check the pricing on that.
2021?
The date. 2021? And it took them only this long? Yeah. That's pretty good. I think that's a good
I also would think that Hyundai is profitable in EVs as well. And they're a company that has done the same thing.
And then they still got a Bolt coming.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the Honda thing means anything here?
I think it's just a rounding error for them. I don't think there's a lot of money there.
I heard that they sold more Prologues than they sell something else.
That was an availability issue.
Oh, yes.
You couldn't get the you couldn't actually get the GM version of that Ultium platform. Honda had somehow tapped into
Yoink.
their full production capacity. They had a lot of recalls and stuff that was affecting the Blazer and whatnot.
It's interesting we mentioned they've managed to do this without a Buick. Not that Buick has a foothold of any kind in North America, but they do sell Ultium-based Buicks in other markets.
So GM in January announced they achieved positive variable profitability for the EV lineup last year, which means that the revenue from EV sales was higher than the fixed costs for labor and materials needed to build them. It doesn't account for the cost of retooling the factories
in 4 years. In 4 years.
It doesn't account for like sunk costs because they had to retool factories, they had to build new assembly lines. But the fact is the products as they make them now generate profit.
That's insane.
It's impressive.
In 4 years.
And it came with a ton of problems. Like they ate so much crap to get here. You know, like all the issues they had with Ultium, all the teething problems. And they're still able to do this. How long did it take
Tesla to get profitable as a company?
I don't think that's a fair comparison because the scale is very different.
I guess so. And one had a head start, I guess, in terms of.
Yeah, and you know, Tesla didn't have existing business to deal with. Yeah, exactly. They didn't have dealers to deal with. Not only does General Motors have to make a product that is profitable, but they have to convince dealers to sell it. Mm-hmm. And dealers have to re-educate their staff to sell it. And then they have to invest in new repair facilities and technician education and all that stuff. So some dealers choose not to do that. And they're like, no, we're uninterested. And I think what ends up happening is they get denied certain vehicles. Like if you don't play ball, you don't get the cool stuff that generates profit.
That's right.
So anyway, that's a whole other dastardly thing.
In my final conclusion, I thought, in comparison to the other vehicles in this class, that's Genesis GV60, Audi Q4 e-tron, Mercedes GLB, and there might be one I'm missing.
And GLB is a conversion car too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I found that this is probably the best in its class.
I went into this vehicle fully not expecting to be able to recommend it.
I think I have a general idea of entry level luxury vehicles sometimes hold back, and
because XT4 was not super impressive. It wasn't bad,
and CT4 isn't super impressive either.
These weren't vehicles where I'd be like, oh, you definitely need to add this to your list. It would be like if my neighbor bought one, I'd be like, oh, okay, you'll be fine with it, But with this Optiq, I would definitely tell people who were in the market for a luxury vehicle to check it out. I think it's a strong competitor, just like you said.
Absolutely. Beyond that, we had some comments and questions for some of our listeners, which we always love. We got
some great listener stuff over the last week. I want to start off with our friend who works at in Hyundai Manufacturing, whom we're not going to identify because that's a small world. So we wanted to thank them again for reaching out with some insight about automotive manufacturing. And I'll also say thank you for the generous offer of a friends and family discount on my mom's next Hyundai. It's very cool of you. They brought up a point about panoramic sunroofs, Sami, saying that perhaps part of the reason why, referring to one of our summer episodes where we talked about features that don't exist anymore, why target tops and T-tops have disappeared is because panoramic sunroofs are so much cheaper for car companies to build and so much less complex that it kind of has eaten into or devoured that market entirely.
Yeah.
And also convertibles are affected by panoramic sunroofs as well, I think. I feel like this is an accurate assessment. I mean, they're in manufacturing. They know the nitty gritty of what it takes to do this. If you look back into the 80s and 90s, a lot of cars that had T-tops or large targa roof panels weren't actually assembled by car companies themselves. They would be sent off to third parties like ASC.
ASC is the one that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. They would install tons of sunroofs and sunroof-like things. And it was just cheaper for them to send stuff to a third party instead of paying to do all of the retooling on the line that they would need to do and all the retraining in order to, sell what works out to be a small number of vehicles.
The funny thing about that ASC thing comes to mind because one of my favorite cars is the Mitsubishi 3000 GT. And they had a Spider version of it in the second gen there that was made by ASC.
Well, did you know that our friend of the show owns a 3000 GT.
No, it's I think they said a Galant VR4.
Oh, Galant VR4. I misread that. I'm sorry about that.
I'm going to double check. But yeah, I know VR4. We just want to get into it.
No, but Galant VR4 is like the stealth.
It's so sick. Yeah,
the stealth performance car of the era, right? Like it was like Mitsubishi had all this performance.
I love Mitsubishi. I really have a thing about Mitsubishi. They had so much going for it, and they other automakers, bit into that pie as well for a while.
When I was a teenager, I had like older brothers of friends who would talk about the Galant VR4 as though it was this secret shrine of performance, and I had no idea what it was because they're so rare. I'd never seen one. And then you look back on the history of that car, and it was like, here's a test bed for all the cool stuff they were going to do with the Evo and whatever later in North America. Mm-hmm. But they were just like, yeah, we're going to put it in this unassuming family car for a while and see if anyone notices. And I think unlike, companies like Subaru did that as well. There were like twin turbo legacies and whatnot in the Japanese market, but the Galant actually escaped Japan and made it over here, and people knew about it. So
I also recently read about that twin turbo legacy. Yeah. And it was like the first time I think that a flat four has been twin turboed, like the first and last time that's like happened.
Well, I mean, no one else is going to do it, right? If anyone's going to do it, it's Subaru. And a lot of those were automatic, sadly, from what I've discovered. Right. Just the demographic they were selling to. But that was another thing. Like the Japanese automakers weren't afraid to make absurdly powered versions of family cars and just sell them to the same people who were buying normal powered versions of family cars, it seems. Like I'm
not that much different than like AMG and M and
no,
RS.
because it wasn't advertised in the same way, I don't think.
Okay. Well, I mean, those vehicles are also wildly expensive. Have you looked at the price of, like, you mentioned when you drove the M5? An M5 or the M5 wagon is a lot of money. That's a real pricey experience.
Yeah, and
I just think that these Japanese ones were gunning for that.
No, not at all. I just finished watching this show on Netflix. I think it was on Netflix. It might not have been. It was some streaming service called Mobland, and it was fine. But it was about the British mob, and almost every character in the show drove a wagon of some kind. The main character drove an RS6, and so many of the shots of the RS6, like it was like Audi had dumped a huge amount of money in Guy Ritchie's lap and said, make this vehicle look amazing in even the most basic shots. So it's just like a love letter to the RS6. And then one of the henchwomen drives like this hotted up BMW 3 Series wagon. And I think at one point there was also an M5. So it was wagons galore, and it made me yearn for like a reality. Like we were talking about last week about how there's no wagons here. It kind of leads me into the next point. Longtime listener Raiko wrote in to talk about how in the Australian market where they live, there are so many more wagon vehicles available. I think it was Skoda, and the Volkswagen variant of the Golf R is available there, the wagon. We do not get to touch this forbidden fruit,
Skoda, but I mean, it's important to point out like Skoda and I think Seat, or what's the other one that was supposed to come to North America? Cupra?
Maybe.
They're all like spin-offs of Volkswagen products.
Yeah, but right? I still want them.
But if they can't even make a market for the regular Golf and Golf wagon here in North America, what hope do any spin-off product on that, have?
Sami, Raiko also wanted to know what you would build for a track car if you were building a track car.
Do I have a budget of any kind? Like, let's
imagination. Just do it. What would you realistically do?
Look, I mean, I have a Scion FRS. I think it was the perfect starter car for learning how to enjoy myself on the track and understand that many times the car is not the limiting factor for your performance. It's just your comfort level and experience on the track. And also tires and brakes. I think those are brilliant. I really love the new ones. I think they would also perform really well on the track.
Is that so? You're saying that's what you would use as the platform?
Not yet. I'm not done yet. I'm making a little. I'm taking you on a little bit of a walk.
Yeah, I got a little lost, and I was scrambling back to civilization.
For a track cars, I would love to maintain a rear wheel drive setup. I also prefer a lightweight. a lightweight experience. So high
C5 Vet. This is where you're going, right?
C5 Vet. Yeah, totally. I do think that the Cayman is probably my favorite thing to take on the track. I think it is a fantastic product. I would probably start with a Cayman or end with a GT4. It is the coolest car to put on a track. It works really well. It feels telepathic in the way that it responds to your handling inputs, and the powertrain, especially those 6-cylinder ones that they had in the previous generations, are so nice. I love that thing, man. If I could do that, that would be that would be my go-to. But if I have a budget to adhere to, I'd pick up another 86 easy, or BRZ. I think those are so nice. So what about you? What do you think? Why? What
do you mean? What do I think?
I'm assuming in terms of like newer
I have
products.
my track car.
You have your vehicle.
I've made my choice. It was very deliberate.
I don't know. Like, there's so many great cars out there. Have I ever mentioned, like, we've done a number of track programs, and a few we've even done together, including like a C8 little track program in Vegas. I can't remember if I was on the same event with you for Camaro, the latest or any Camaro event, but the Camaro, especially the 1LE and the ZL1s, are really capable on track.
Yeah, they're excellent.
1LEs are so good too.
Of the modern muscle cars, they're the best, but you'd have to, if you're driving it every day, it would make you crazy.
Oh, it would drive you nuts for sure.
But they're a really great platform to build on. I mean, the power is there. The handling is a cut above Mustang for sure.
It blows my mind that it doesn't get enough credit, but because it was a really easy to manipulate vehicle on the track.
What blows my mind is we never got that LS engine in the also alpha platform ATS-V.
Yeah, we got the Turbo 6 instead,
which is fine.
I have no issues with.
But I'll never own one because it doesn't sound right.
Because it doesn't sound like the rest of your cars, man. Be clear here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not LS engine. Sorry, it's LT at that point.
I think those are two of my favorite picks, or three of my favorite picks from modern track cars. Is a 1LE equipped Camaro, preferably the V8, a Cayman of any kind in any generation. I think those things have unlimited potential, and then an 86, either of the first or second gen. I think they're so good. I would take another one if I could. My main issue these days is I've been trying to sort out a replacement for the FRS that is a bit more family friendly, and I'm struggling so hard to find something that fits the bill.
ATS-V
is a great idea, especially because you can get it with a stick.
It's a small back seat, but that's fine for your purposes for now.
My other option was going to be just a G70 with the manual transmission as well. Genesis G70.
So my brother-in-law has a G70 with the V6, and he loves it, and it's a great car. I don't think I would enjoy it as much with the 4-cylinder.
And then the alternative, though, would be to get the 6-cylinder model, and I would be going for the Stinger, which is super fast, but I feel like I'd love that. I'd miss that manual transmission.
And the Stinger's a lot heavier than the G70.
Yeah,
I think the Stinger driving experience is quite different.
That's fair. Okay. But I'm looking for something like more fun to drive on the daily that I can also stick my kid and all of his junk in.
We considered getting a Stinger for my wife for her commute, but the fuel mileage isn't really there. And in Canada, they've really held their value, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's one of the most annoying things I've dealt with. The G70 and Stinger are essentially the same price on the used car market. So what are we doing?
Yeah, G70 is just a much better drive. Although I do like the practicality aspects of the Stinger. I mean, it's with that giant hatch, it's really cool.
I got to take a look at these ATSs. That was a great call. I don't know why I've been sleeping on ATSs. Anyways, that's what I've been thinking of.
So one last listener question to talk about. Dean asked us about the Kia EV4. If we're going to drive it, yes, we are. It just recently underwent the first drive program, I believe last month in Korea. So I don't see it getting into fleets until probably the fall. That's likely when we will get a hold of it. And will we also drive a modern Leaf? Sami, the current Leaf was redesigned when?
We got a whole new announcement we got a whole press release about the new redesigned Leaf.
Okay.
It should be coming in the next few weeks or the next few months.
So I haven't driven a Leaf in, I want to say 3 years. it was fine at the time. The problem is that version of the Leaf, like charging battery size technology, it's really been left behind in a way that's unfortunate, because it was so affordable. And I think the Bolt kind of beat it in a lot of ways because of just the timing. Yeah, the range and the timing. It's just, Dina was basically asking us about these affordable EVs. He's interested in adding one of these to the fleet at some point. So yeah, we're definitely going to be driving these cars. Canada's also getting an EV5, which is exclusive to Canada, which is
kind of like Seltos or Nero size, more of an SUV.
So that'll be curious as well, because there's a lot of things that are being done with these smaller EVs from Kia that are they're supposed to be on the same eGMP platform as other EVs they make, but they're modified, like half the voltage, different packaging. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're like in the real world.
Yeah, I think that I'm so confused about the EV4. I've been reading about it, and I thought it was going to be eGMP based, but it has a 400 volt architecture, which is unlike all the other eGMP vehicles
that might be system. So that they can take advantage of the NACS port.
Oh, that's it. Right. We talked about this last time with the EV6. Right?
Yeah, so they can charge faster at a Tesla supercharger.
Okay.
But I'm not. That's just me speculating.
That sounds really realistic. And it looks very much like a K4, which is like the replacement for the Forte. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But my gut is leaning that the the EV5 will probably be a hit here in Canada in terms of EVs. And I'm curious to see how these two things will sit side by side in a showroom here.
Yeah, I mean, as Dean mentions, they're expected to start around $30,000 US, which would make them by far the most affordable Hyundai electrics right now. I think that's similar to, Kia electrics. That's similar to Nero money, maybe a little bit less.
I'm in a Kona EV this week that we'll probably talk about next week. But it also just makes me think that I know Chevy has announced that a new Bolt will be coming. I will be so impressed if they can keep it around that price point or below the Equinox in terms of pricing.
Well, I think they have to, right? Like, impressive. Why?
Yeah, they have to, of course.
I mean, yeah. Because presumably it's not going to offer the same power or range as an Equinox, I would think.
But I hope the future is still bright for affordable EVs. I think there's a lot of things out there that suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
But the automakers have, they've put all this research and development into their vehicles. They have to see it. They have to see these things through.
The future of affordable EVs might be used EVs.
Yeah, that's okay. Because a lot of people have, the depreciation's out of this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mainly because of incentives.
Yeah, incentives play a role, but just like, you're looking at like 20-30% loss in the first year, I think, on some of these EVs. Yeah. So that makes them, like, we're looking right now at Kona Electrics, and in Canada, you can pick them up for between $15,000 and $20,000 for
that's the first gen one, right?
No, you can get a refreshed car for like 20 grand. Wow. Yeah. Like the 2021 and up, where they went with a different battery and the different look and whatnot. That's very, very affordable. When you consider the range is like 400 kilometers or something like that, somewhere around there, which works out to, I guess, 290 miles, something around that. 280
that's not
miles.
Shabby, man.
Yeah.
For 15 to 20 grand Canadian, that's really decent.
The real trick is to find one that hasn't miled out on the battery warranty.
Okay.
They don't have the pre-2021s had a battery issue where many of them were replaced under warranty or just as part of a recall. Post 2021, there haven't been any problems with the battery pack itself. The only issues that are coming up with the Kona Electrics is the drive gear reduction motor, I think it is called. It tends to fail, and if you change the oil more aggressively than is recommended, it stays healthy. But in any case, a lot of them are high mileage, and past 100,000 miles, the warranty no longer applies. It's like 8 years, 100,000 miles. So right now what we're trying to decide is, do we want to take the big discount, usually like a $15,000 Kona Electric is because it's past 100,000 miles, or do we want to pay a little more for the warranty and have maybe 2 or 3 years left of, worry-free driving if something were to happen to the battery pack?
Yeah, I think paying a little bit more for the warranty coverage, because these things are constantly, like, every year we learn more and more about these EVs in terms
but
of.
A lot of the people who work at, I mentioned this on past episodes, people who are working at scrapyards and recycling centers, these battery packs are coming with 200, 300,000 kilometers on them.
Ooh, that's very nice too.
With no problems. Yeah. So that generally seems to be the life expectancy. Like, as in, I think the battery packs are outlasting the vehicles on EVs. So yeah, that's good to know.
Fair. Ben, we talked about the Optiq. We jumped into this conversation about the Optiq pretty quickly. Can you let our listeners know where they can find some of your latest work?
Sure. You can find it at Motor Trend, at Haggerty, and at driving.ca.
And you can find my work at autotrader.ca and driving.ca. Next week, as I mentioned, we'll probably be talking about the Kona EV that I've been driving. What about you? What are you driving?
I'm going to talk about a vehicle that you hate, Sammy.
Oh, no.
Can you guess what that might be?
There's only so few of them.
Can you guess what that might be? It starts with an H and it also starts with an H. It's got two H's. No? Just dead air?
Honda. Yes, Honda HR-V. I've talked about this on the podcast before.
Yeah, so I'm driving the HR-V. Spoiler alert, I'm not nearly as negative about it as Sammy is. So
you're just all about being the opposite of me.
I'm all about giving things a chance, Sammy, which is something we need to try to do more often.
This thing has no chance.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya. Bye.